The big thing I took away from that is that when I first went to Muscle Nerds, it went over my head. I was just so overwhelmed by it. And I've come back 8 odd years later, and I'm not only following it when others weren't, I'm holding my own at the front, having a discussion. I'm not going to say debate, a discussion with the course lecturer.
Every single day, do something good for your health.
Yeah.
Because we can.
Educational courses, you may not make your money back immediately. But when I look back on the money I've made in the last 5-10 years, it's been an amalgamation of all the courses that I've invested in.
You know what? It's, obviously we don't get the same amount of workshops, courses, but mate, the internet is so accessible.
Your masters might not make you direct money, but in 10 years, the opportunities, the doors that open, like working with this Olympian. So Steve, last time we sat down, we spoke about the problems with sort of like the education space, which has always been quite relevant recently, because I don't know, and me and Rob did an episode on this, if Diver CEO has got a lot of hate from the fitness industry again, saying protein's going to make you fat. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't. What was this episode?
It's the latest one from Diver CEO, and it had Tim Spector on. So you remember Tim Spector came on at the start of the year talking about all the gut health stuff? So yeah, he's come on now saying protein will make you fat. And I don't know if it got a lot of backlash, but the title is still that. But the YouTube thumbnail has changed to your low-fat foods are making you fat. So I don't know if he's bowed down to a little bit of pressure. But exactly what we're talking about in terms of cherry-pick studies.
Well, this is the thing. Do you really think he is deciding on the YouTube title and thumbnail? Do you think he has the ultimate decision?
No.
They might send him 3 and say, choose one. And the reality is, if you're on there, you're going to choose something that gets attention. You know what I mean? That sticks out, right? So, it's going to get the clicks. Although saying that, because of the following and the fan base he has.
That wasn't intentional.
Saying that, because of the following and the reputation he has, a thumbnail and a title probably don't mean jack shit for him anymore anyway, because people will watch it anyway, right?
Well, that was my point that I was making in the sense of like, I'm almost put off to watch when I see things like that, when it's like really clickbait titles, and I compared him to.
You're the 1%. You're the 1%.
Yeah, but I compared him to Modern Wisdom and Chris Williamson in the sense of like his titles are still quite clickbaity, but not clickbaity in the negative connotation we have. It's like strategies for living longer, or like transform the way you move. I'm like, oh, I want to click on that. I want to transform the way I move. It's not like the couch stretch is killing you. It's like there's a way of like drawing attention without like being a bit sleazy with it. And I think that a lot of people are starting to see that.
Yeah, and also though, you have to think about that journey on there. They're always testing shit. They're always trialing, erroring things. So that could be something that they did, and then they're like, oh shit, we learned the lesson from that straight away. You know what I mean? So they changed it, which is a good thing though.
And often you'll find I still need to watch. Yeah. And often you'll find like I still need to watch the whole episode, but like when they had Giles Yeo on, the trailer made him look worse than he was. And I think Giles is very, very clever. But I think going on to the education space now again, like we spoke about studies last time, but I think now it's also like a lot of people, less so and less so these days, got their education, and I'm sure you do as well, through courses, through mentors, and standing on the shoulders of giants. And the question I have for you to start this off is like, do you think, why is it doing this today? Do you think there's less importance now for like less of a priority for coaches today to go into education than compared to like when we started? If you wanted to make more money, you just got better at your job. Whereas now people are maybe jumping on the bandwagon of business before they've even really learned to walk.
Yeah, I think, for me, it's always about being the best, the most skillful at what I want to do. Whether it's online coaching or one-to-one coaching or anything, right? It's about learning, upskilling, environment, surrounding yourself with, like-minded people who we're positive, educated, get good quality results, have a high level of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Just they're fussy with their work, right? They want it to be top. You got to go through that journey, right? Now, are there coaches out there, whether it's one-to-one and online? Of course, there's coaches that are poor quality. They can't get results. They can't even lace our boots up. They can't even lace our shoes up. You know what I mean? They're not on a standard, and they make a lot of money. They make a lot of money. Are they fulfilled? Probably not. Do they get incredible results? Probably not. Do they have the longevity in the field? Probably not. And that's the key, the longevity of it and the fulfillment side of things and the respect from everyone else, in the industry,
I think longevity is the key thing there, right? Because I saw a video that I can't remember who it's from, but it's like saying like the online trade, how the online trading market is getting saturated. I disagree with the word saturated. It's saturated with people that don't really care, but actually like the base of the pyramid is huge, but the peak of the pyramid is quite small.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I realize is that when you see so many coaches, I get lots of coaches follow me now, and you see so many people that look like clones of other people from other mentorships. And there's no individuality. And if I look at it again, this is just the people that I follow, which are in the education space. But Jordan Shallow is a great example, actually. Because if you look at Jordan Shallow's page, there's no very clear, it's not almost not a user-friendly Instagram. He hasn't got these big clear titles of what the reels are about. Most of it's pictures. It's like how Instagram used to be. And yet he has a huge following. I assume he doesn't struggle to fill out his courses. And why is that? It's because he's good. That people actually follow him. And the people that are going to have longevity in this field need to either be one of two things. They need to be cheaper or better. And I'm assuming most coaches don't want to have to do 400 clients to make ends meet and pay the bills. So if you're not focused on getting better, then, and not business skills, not Canva skills, like actually better at your job, it's only going to go so far. You can only sell shit once.
Yeah. I think there's two things I want to point out on that. Yeah. The first one is Alex Hormozy. I listened to him say something the other day. It was about, YouTube and titles and thumbnails. He said, like, their goal when they do something is not to catch people's attention with a thumbnail or, a title, because he believes that if the information is at its highest quality and only he can say it because it's his experience, his skill, his achievements, people are gonna watch it, and it will naturally, organically become viral, which is what he's trying to do with his content, right? Make it viral, and people will share it and like it. You know what I mean? I think it's the same for Jordan Shallow then. You know what I mean? The information is authentic, it's real, he gets results, he knows what he's talking about, and it might not look the greatest and it might not be explained the best, but people think this guy's the man. You know what I mean? And then it goes where it needs to go. And also what I was going to say is about those coaches that do make a lot of money from selling a low-end product and they have shit skill. The thing is, they may not be in this game for the long run anyway. They might just want to make money, and then in a year or 5, use that money to take a sidestep and make money elsewhere, whether that's property, selling a business course now, or whatever. So At the same time, we have to think that might not be their long-term goal anyway, because they might just be wanting to make peas. They may just want to make hard money, do it any way means necessary, and then get out of the health and fitness industry and chase more other people. So, you know what I mean?
That's what scares me about business.
What's their passion?
That's what scares me about. Yeah.
Sorry, most of them guys' passions isn't people, health, and fitness. It's simply just making money.
That's what scares me about the business mentors, though. While there's some great business mentors out there with a lot of integrity, I'm going to shout out Ollie Carson, who I work with. But like, there are tons of people that were failed fitness coaches, or even people that didn't even have fitness business that call themselves fitness business mentors to prey on people. And as more that come into the industry because they know it's PTs are struggling for money, the more there's going to be pressure to get money first, then get good. And I'm like, it's the wrong way around.
But what do you define as failed fitness coach? What would you define as a failed fitness coach?
I would say someone that didn't make money and then gave up on it. I don't think
Yeah.
someone that's in it has failed. In the same way that I don't think someone that's made a mistake on a fat loss program has failed unless they give up on the fat loss program. But I certainly wouldn't be a person who was a client, didn't lose a pound. I wouldn't then start teaching other people to lose weight.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of business mentors are doing, right?
Yeah.
They didn't really get any results or make any money with their own fitness business, and now they're teaching other people to get fit, have fitness businesses.
Mate, it drives
There's
me
more of
insane.
those come. There's more of those than there are people in the education space now, right? And the people in the education space, including myself, aren't often very good at marketing themselves. So because of that, you get these really smart people that are very niche. Like Luke Lehman and Muscle Nerds, right? We know him, but Luke has a cult following, really. It's people within, like, if I go on Supercharge and how many of you know Luke, it's probably a third.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be. It should be everybody. And it's not, and like, I don't know, is it their fault for not focusing on their studies enough? Or is it his fault for not knowing how to market because he spent too long learning biochemistry pathways and anatomy?
You know what? It's mine and yours fault because we are the 1% of the industry and of the world with fuck all in the world. So, and what we care about, no one else cares about, right? You know what I mean? So really we're over analyzing it all because Luke Lehman's probably happy with where he's at and what he's doing in his life. You know what I mean?
Seems it.
You know what I mean? So, you know, what's that saying? Like we're the own, we're all of us are the center of our own universe.
Yes.
You know, like,
I also have steal a phrase from good old CM Punk. You know, I don't know if Luke is a millionaire. I don't think he is. But like, you know, he talked about Vince McMahon saying he's a millionaire that should be a billionaire. And he said that about Vince McMahon as someone who is really successful, but could be more successful if he wasn't a prick. I don't mean that with Luke, but I mean that like he's someone that could make so much more money just because he's underexposed. Like, if more people knew who he was, more people would buy from him. I was at a seminar recently, and just watching that man's recall of information off the top of his head was unbelievable. Like, just going down energy pathways and into anatomy, and like, no slides, not a single slide the whole weekend. Just unbelievable ability to recall information. And I remember Luke when he was mainly just a nutrition guy and a strength and conditioning coach, and he did like 2 cadaver courses, and he came back just understanding a human anatomy. I'm like, where did this come from? Like, that man's ability to study inspires me. And you mentioned earlier on about networking, and I think that's something that, for me, the reason why I think in-person education, or at least live online education, where you're in with people on a group call rather than like doing a pre-recorded course that you forget to do and it sits half finished for 3 years, is so vital. Because in Hong Kong there's no education. I was here, and I'm not saying that as an arrogant statement. I shouldn't be it. There should be people smarter than me, and there are people, but they don't run education. And I come back here and I feel more fulfilled and more driven in my job now than I've ever been. And that's partly going out on my own and partly having a bit of my business that I want to run and not being burnt out with sessions. But I think a lot of it is the fact that if I want to go and see Tom Hibbert, I can pop to Southampton. If I want to go and see Michael Goulden, I can pop to London. I pop to Amsterdam to see, which is, far, but not that far, to see Luke. There's so much education out here. Paul Standel, PT Project. And the UK is so small. It's not like you. You've got to get on a 5-hour flight to get anywhere. We are we're exactly the opposite in terms of location availability for stuff. Like, do you because I find that so important into my psyche. When I was at London, if I hadn't done a course every 6 months, I would start to feel more burnt out and like my job less. When I went to a course, I was like, I almost had an energy and a vigor to get back working with clients. Like, how do you feel living in probably the most remote place on the planet, other than the Arctic?
It is the most remote place on the planet, by the way. Perfect.
Is it?
Yes, it's the most isolated city in the world, and I live there. No, you know what? It's obviously we don't get the same amount of workshops, courses, but mate, the internet is so accessible, and I'm not getting around people as much as what you may, or people in Sydney, East Coast may, or in Europe may. But like first of all, one of my clients is a heptathlete and decathlete and javelin thrower, #1 in Australia for his age. And now the AIS, the Australian Institute of Sport, have recognized him as a potential athlete for Olympics 2028 in LA. Cool. So they've put him onto the program, and he had to select someone as a coach to go along this journey with him of upskilling, networking, workshops, etc. And he chose me. So now I have access to an incredible network of high-level strength and conditioning coaches, psychologists, nutritionists, doctors, like the whole works. And I get to go on workshops. I get to go on, like, they come to Perth, they're online, and I'm talking like the best of the best in this field, you know? So that side of things, the network, I haven't gone out to search that. I've just done a good job with the kid. Right. So again, it's skill and it's getting results. But on the other side, you know, I have gone and sought education, you know, like, you know, I did my master's 3.5 years. I went back to London every year just for my master's. You know what I mean? That's dedication. That's because it gives me fulfillment and I love it and I have the passion. You know what I mean? If you didn't have that, then like the guys that I worked with, they used to say to me, "Oh, why are you doing a master's for? That ain't going to make you money."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe so. Maybe a master's ain't going to make me money, but I'm going to become a better coach. And I know that it will make me money because I'm going to be better.
Though, on that point, though, here's the interesting thing. Because I get this a lot, right? Like, I get people with my course, obviously much cheaper than a master's. But, like, say, like, think about, like, well, business coach is going to make me money. I'm like, well, yeah, directly, yes. If it's a good mentor and you apply it. But the educational courses, you may not make your money back immediately. But when I look back on the money I've made in the last 5-10 years, it's been an amalgamation of all the courses that I've invested in. Yeah. I didn't make direct money from Muscle Nerds or Walking with Jordan Shallow or Nick Daniels' course or like Douglas Hill or whatever I've done, right? But all those little bits has formed the information that I have now. I wouldn't be working in an education space if I hadn't done any of that. So I could say all of the money I've made since January, even earlier, because I've been running education for gyms, all that money has been a direct relation. It's just harder to say X equals Y. It's more showing my age. Remember that game? There was always 7 separations from Kevin Bacon. There was always 7 steps to get back to Kevin Bacon. There's always 7 steps to get back to an educational course you did about why you made money.
Exactly.
I do think it makes money. Your masters might not make you direct money, but in 10 years, the opportunities, the doors that open, like working with this Olympian, right? Like if that opens doors for you and you make loads of money by being known as a strength and conditioning coach, then your masters has made you money.
Yeah. And it did make me my money back. You know what I mean? Because it gave me expertise, authority. It gave me a critical mindset, how to look at information and take my own opinion on it. It allowed me to network. It allowed me to coach other students on my course. You know, a bunch of my online clients are students that were on my course.
It's class.
You know, on my course, I trained with the lecturer who is one of the most famous strength and conditioning coaches in rugby union. You know, Dan Baker. So and just training with him, like I learned how to cue and how to squat better and how to tweak my technique and how to cue someone, because he was cueing me. You know, I was in the bottom of the squat and he kept saying to me, push back on the bar, push back on the bar, push back on the bar when I was coming out from the bottom position. And that is the best cue I've ever had given to me. And now I use that all the fucking time with my clients. When they're out from the bottom position, if they need to maintain position, push back on the bar. So that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Networking from the masters was good as well. But like I said, authority, the experience, the critical thinking skills. Because, mate, I went to school and I failed all my GCSEs. I failed. And then I went to football academy. Yeah. And I did a BTEC in sport and I failed that because I didn't even turn up for it. So for me, I had a lot of problems I thought I was really stupid. I thought I was really dumb because I failed everything. You know what I mean? Not that I failed everything. I just didn't try. You know what I mean? I was young, lazy, just wanted to play sport, football. Didn't care about money. But I loved training and performance and everything about it, which is what led me to working as a PT in the gym. And I remember I was at Virgin Active. I've just qualified as a PT after doing 2-3 years as a gym instructor. And there was a bunch of coaches there. And one of them works for UP, Jeff Stewart. Got really good friends with him. He was coaching 2 of the 30-year-old guys. And this is when I was 21, 22, yeah? And they were doing all this training and coincidentally, it was a lot of CP stuff, Poliquin-based methods. It was, the posterior chain, GBC. It was the fun shit. It was all the fun shit that we know, yeah, and that everything else has come up. A lot of coaches use to this day. And then I jumped on a CP course, yeah, a Poliquin PICP. Did the level 1, did the level 2, did the biosig, did some private workshops with you. Worked at UP, surrounded myself with high-level coaches all the time. And then, your projection goes that way. But the problem with these online coaches is that they don't do that stuff, do they? Because they don't have the passion.
Well, that's the thing. And it's one of those things, like, sometimes getting in these rooms, or even not even for the first room isn't the exciting one. Or not even that's it, that it's not the exciting one. But let's look at UP. I'm not saying UP wasn't an exciting environment to learn. It certainly was when we started. But I know of Charles Poliquin. I know of Brian Walsh. I know of Kelly Starrett. Pretty much everybody I've learned to know in the fitness industry, if it's not directly learnt from UP, it was that UP opened that first door, then I went exploring in a new room.
Yeah.
So if I'd never been there, I probably would still be following fitness influencers and going, well, how does this guy get a bigger bicep? So in a way, like going back to that, it's like we can look at these coaches that are not investing in their education and judging them. And I still was investing in my education. But they almost maybe need to just have that first door open for them and realize what's out there, like I had, and then be like, oh, okay, this is interesting, and then let's go into it. Like, just need that little bit of almost a handheld. But like networking is, I think networking is such a big part of this, and it's interesting you mentioned Perth. On a little side note, but being the most remote city in the world, I think you've got quite a lot for a very remote city, though. I don't know if it's because it's a nice place, but you're always talking about athletes, Olympians. We talk about people that are networking like around the area and in London. You've had Dylan come and visit you, and obviously James goes there a lot. And again, I'm not thinking of Dylan and James these like hierarchies of education or anything, but people come there. I felt like Hong Kong is people transition through Hong Kong. Like my mum said to me when she visited, I never even thought of ever wanting to go to Hong Kong, but I'm now captivated by the place. And I'm like, yeah, and that's the problem with the education space. People don't go there very often either.
Well, who's from Perth? What's his name? Joker.
Joker? What, the Joker? Jacqueline Phoenix?
No.
Heath Ledger?
Keith Ledger. Heath Ledger's from. But anyway, Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo from Perth as well. Daniel Ricciardo.
Who's Daniel Ricciardo?
Formula One driver. Come on.
Oh, I'm not a Formula One guy. They just zoom past. I hear them and they're gone. That's it.
Yeah. Daniel Ricciardo, also from WA, and Steve Collins. No, you know what? WA is a beautiful place. The weather's incredible, and the education system is pretty good. Like in Australia, I think. Anyway, the education system's good, and in my area, there's a bunch of good kids. You know what I mean? And as you know, I work with. I've trained the best javelin thrower in Australia for his age. I trained the best swimmer in Western Australia for his age. One of the best in Australia for his age. Top footy players, AFL players, soccer players, rugby players. I trained 2 softball world champions. And they're all from different areas in Perth, but you know what I mean? Like they're gifted athletes. Maybe it's something they put in the water here. I don't know, but obviously, to be honest, I'm not gloating, but I've helped them a lot, with my skill, and I wouldn't have learned that unless I did my masters and workshops and work with people like yourself as well. So, Perth's nice, man.
It's something like I can't be understated how much if I don't have in-person education, how much like I have so much passion, but like it's like working in a sweet shop every day of your life. You start to hate sweets. And I've never hated training. I've always had an interest for this, but my desire to do it as a job goes down if I'm not surrounding myself with people that make me want to be better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I also think the ability of doing live education, when I say live, it could be on an online format, like in a live call, or even better in person. The problem I find with a lot of people studying is they do just what I call deep study. And deep study is like looking at a textbook and just like go in, just hoping shit sticks. Whereas, and I've spoken about this before, I think you should do something more active study. I think you should get in play. Live education allows you, especially in person, allows you to do the active study. Go, look, here's the anatomy of the shoulder. Here's how to test for the shoulder. Now go in and try testing for the shoulder. Go and try doing some exercises. That's the play. But the thing that one person education does that I think no one talks about is what a lot of coaches' ego doesn't let them do is that's reinforce. Like, I've learned more in the last year because I've had to put things into slides and speak in other people's languages. So if you're a coach now and like you're really confused by a nutrition topic or a training topic or whatever it is, getting in a room with 20, 30 people on a seminar about that topic, you're going to speak to so many different people from so many different backgrounds who are smarter than you, dumber than you, on your level, and you're going to have to speak to all of them about this topic. That's a lot of practice to speaking about functional anatomy. And you'll be better. Not even take the course content out. You'll be better just from that.
Yeah, and what's special about that is that you do have to go a layer deeper with that, so that if you do get questions, you understand what you're saying and what you're talking about, right? But at the same time, it's also a journey of maturing, because if you don't know, you ain't got the ego to say some bullshit. You're mature enough to say, listen, I don't know the answer to that. Like, why don't you check this, or I'll check this and get back to you. Like, that's something that as young coaches, a lot of people probably aren't doing, or inexperienced coaches aren't doing, like just accepting that we don't know everything. But it's partly why, if you're educating on a topic, it's why you go a little bit deeper into learning it, right? So
this is why when I went to that, again, I'm going to shout out to Luke again. But when I went to that Muscle Nerd seminar recently, we were talking about exercise progressions, regressions, because he's a little bit more Poliquin in these exercise progression regressions, and as we've had this conversation on the show, I'm a little bit more, well, it's goal dependent, it's nuanced. Something that's a progression for one goal is the regression for another. And he got me up to the front and spoke about it. And I don't know whether that is because he just thought it'd be easier just to have the conversation rather than me at the back of the room, or whether he knew I was an educator and it was almost like kind of giving back to the next generation. It's like, well, let's get you practice in front of 60, 70 people standing up in front and talking. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the latter, because that's the way Luke is. But we were chatting about it, and it was so interesting because two things sprung to mind. One, I said the word optimal, and he schooled me on it. I don't even know why I said it. I was like, he goes, define it. I can't. And I was talking, he said, I kept saying those words. I went, but you talk about proximity to failure, but Chinese weightlifters don't go to failure, really, ever. Are you going to tell them they're not getting bigger? Because they're probably pretty big. And like, so he managed to question me really well. But the big thing I took away from that is that when I first went to Muscle Nerds, it went over my head. I was just so overwhelmed by it. And I've come back 8 odd years later, and I'm not only following it when others weren't, I'm holding my own at the front, having a discussion. I'm not going to say debate, a discussion with the course lecturer. Some things we agreed on, some things we didn't. And like that conversation put a lot of things into perspective for me that I hadn't thought of before. And like, that's the stuff that I want to take away from this. And this is the reason why a lot of my education now is either in person or it's getting guest lectures in to talk to my students, because it's not just about learning what they know. It's about learning how they speak to other people. Like, if I speak to Tom Hibbert at my level, I want to see how he speaks to coaches below me's level, because then it'll help me solidify the basics. And then I have a wonderful, rather than paying for consults, I have this wonderful back catalogue of consults that I can draw from at any time because they're recorded. But I think it can't be overstated, the importance of just getting around people.
Yeah.
Because especially online, because it can be quite a lonely job.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine. I've spent days sitting down just doing check-ins and emails and programs and admin. But it's 6 p.m. and I haven't trained, haven't walked, haven't eaten properly, haven't drunk enough water, and I have a terrible sleep. And the next morning I feel like shit. So again, it's making sure I don't want to call it non-negotiables. I like to call them standards, making sure you have your standards and you just practice them every single day. A client gave me a book a few months ago. It was called A Girl Who Fell from the Sky. A young 21, 23-year-old girl. She was traveling Europe from Australia and she got to Switzerland. And whenever she gets to a new place in the morning, she'll always wake up bright and early and go for a little run. Because she was a decent level runner. She'd always go for a run, see the town, wake up, get on with her day. Anyway, she woke up, she felt really tired. So she said, fuck it, I'm not going to go for a run this morning. And then later that day, she went and did the skydive. Skydive, parachute didn't deploy. She fell from that high up. I don't know how many foot, but it was fucking high. And she hit the ground and she should have died. But she didn't. She survived. And she was fucking paralyzed from the head down, in a coma for months. And then, she woke up, was paralyzed. And after years, she ended up walking after being told that she wouldn't walk. But what I'm trying to get to here is one of the things she said is that she regretted not going for that run because, you know what I mean? She said, you know what? She just, she just didn't go for the run, you know what I mean? And she didn't respect what she had, you know what I mean? And it just really resonated with me, you know what I mean? And I think, you know what, every day we need to do something good for our health, whether it's a walk, a stretch, water, good quality food, train, mindset, breath work, whatever it is, every single day, do something good for your health.
Yeah.
Because we can. Yeah.
I love that. What a message. I think to close off this show, because I know you've got a client coming soon, obviously we talked about education courses, and someone might listen to this and go, do you know what? I'm going to get myself around people. Like, what we'll take it in turns. What the top 3, I'll let you start with one, top 3 educational courses that you're glad you invested in. These can be online, these can be live in person, or they could be a blend, like if you want to add your masters in there. What's your, give me one of your top 3 courses you've invested in.
Okay, so the top 1 for me, for different reasons, 1 and 2 and 3, but sort of in order. Number 1 for me was the PICP level 1, the Poliquin structure, the PICP Poliquin. What's it stand for? PICP.
Poliquin Institute Principal. I don't know.
Poliquin Institute. Charles Poliquin.
I don't know. That's a really interesting point. I don't know that.
I can't remember. I know what it is, but I can't remember. Anyway, the PICP one, because that was my first big course that I did, and it was someone that I respected and looked up to, and I was in a fucking room with these really high caliber coaches and high caliber strength and, you know what I mean, like health and performance coaches and someone who I respected highly. And this information was just like, holy shit, this is incredible. And I get application from it. I got ways to apply it straight away, right? It was bodybuilding, fat loss, human performance, health, everything to one. Injuries, strength, power, speed, everything in one. And you could use it with a high-level athlete and you can use it with Joe Blogs, you know what I mean? Like you can, you could just manipulate it. And that, for me, that was a massive turning point in my career of like education and being, addicted to learning more about it and, the journey that I'm on now. What about yours?
So before that, Poliquin International Certification Program.
That's the one.
That's what I was Googling. I'm going to go down that route. I think one of the best, we used to get people into UP a lot, and one of the best people that came into UP was, I think, Christian Thibodeau, for that exact same reason. Because we had Andre in there, we had Jordan, we had Cass, all really good courses, and there's one I've left out for reasons, because I'm going to bring it up later. But I found that the Christian Thibodeau one was so applicable. It literally broke down understanding periodization to understanding this, weak point training. Like if someone's weak here, this is where you go. And I don't agree with all of it now, but it gave me a framework. I liked the fact that it broke down the sessions. It went into loaded carries. We got to sit live on the gym floor. I think that was probably one of mine for that reason.
Yeah. Cool.
What about number two?
My second one is my strength and conditioning masters of sports science, academia now, and that was because, like I said earlier, like I did abysmal at school and I failed college, and after years of like not being educated and somewhat feeling like not adequate and like I didn't feel like confident in my knowledge. Yeah, I chased the masters and I eventually got onto it through a non-degree pathway after years and years of applying and doing that 3 years masters and finishing with a really high grade. It gave me the satisfaction. It gave me a lot of satisfaction, and it made me think, I am smart. Maybe I wasn't mature enough and just not ready for it. But that taught me a lot of critical thinking skills, how to have a conversation and weigh an opinion on whether it's right or wrong, or take my own stance on it. It taught me a lot, not just about exercise science and human performance. Everything.
Yeah. No, I can absolutely relate to that. I think one similar for me with that is probably going to be Muscle Nerds. And the interesting thing about Muscle Nerds is that the way the course was laid out when I did it in October 2019 was you run through the course content, turn up to the live calls, and then you will get a in-person seminar. You come to all our in-person seminars for free, and that will solidify the content. And then the world shut down. And I didn't get to do any of that. So I would also say, and no disrespect, it's there for a reason. For where I was at the time, Muscle Nerds probably was a bit too basic for me. It was understanding stuff that you already knew. But what Muscle Nerds did is it started to kind of it wasn't so much of the content, although it is great, and the in-person seminar was well worth it, and getting to know Luke has been great. Something during that course clicked where I understood the system that I was going to use to get results. Something that I could build skeleton programs off, something that could be replicable, something that could be scalable, something that like yourself with your masters giving you the confidence in terms of your knowledge, something where my knowledge wasn't scattered all over the place. I could filter the information better. And it wasn't directly the course content, but it was just an idea and a spark of inspiration I had during it based off something I learned that had a knock-on effect on the rest of my career. So that's really interesting. I was going to talk here about Christian Maurice at UP when he came in. That was a really good seminar, but I'm not, because I don't think it was as impactful. But clues to my last one. My last one's a cheat because I technically have two.
What are they?
Do you want me to go through it now when you finish off?
Yeah.
So the first one is actually Douglas Heel. Be activated. Yeah, awesome. You've done Douglas Hill. Yeah. And it's such an interesting course. And I don't use it much now. I know Dom, anyone who doesn't know Dom, is a wonderful Polish trainer at UP City. He was tickling people's nipples and diaphragms for years after that. I think he might still do it. I very quickly realized that, look, if a client came to me in pain, they don't mind having pain to get out of pain. But a client just wants to look better. They don't mind leg press pain, but they don't want me poking their psoas, even though you can't poke the psoas, or poking the diaphragm. That's not the pain that you want. So I'm actually making the session way less enjoyable for my gain, not theirs. And there are better ways to do these things. But why I put that on the list is because it really opened my eyes to what is possible. It broke through a barrier. I'm like, Jesus, you can make such an improvement in someone's movement. And this is not just movement. You could be done in anything. In seconds. I'm like, what else can I do this for? What else is because I went on that course and shout out to Eddie Baruta, always the realist in the room. Why are you doing that course? Pointless. So I was always criticized for going on the course, and I came into it and I'm like, oh my God, there's so much. If this is the stuff that people don't think is relevant and it's done this, what else do I need to learn that's not accepted science, if you want to call it that? And I saw a guy on that course that was blind in one eye, wore glasses, got his serratus anterior fiddled, and he started to see in that eye, and he came in the next day without glasses on. Like, that is mental. I learned in a Virgin Active course years prior, but I learned now where it came from. The releasing your masseter, touch your toes. Like, that's when all of a sudden my appreciation for anatomy and the human body was like, this is so cool. Yeah. And the second course, wasn't the best course I'd done. No way near. But if we're talking impactful, UP hypertrophy leg day, the first ever one, the big Thor workout. Do I remember anything I learned from that course? Not a single thing. Have I applied anything I learned from that course? Probably not. Is that workout dumb as balls? Yes, it is. But it was the first time properly I've been in a room with real driven trainers that are better than me, that I may have still be friends with some of them and connected with some of them today. That it took my career on a completely new path. It got me to move to London. That made me move to Hong Kong. Like, where I am as a trainer started with that course. Yeah. And for all the ups and down ride that UP has been, I am grateful that it opened that first door.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, that's amazing. Yeah. My third one, I didn't really know, but now you say Douglas Hill, I'd say that's my third as well, be activated. Because for me, similar to you, it was the first insight I had to how incredible the human body is and how we can manipulate the nervous system to get an outcome instantly by just giving someone a little tickle or a little bit of pain. And like the body and the mind is complicated. We know how incredible the brain is and how it's, the brain is the most important thing. You know what I mean? And we know pain is a complex thing. We know flexibility, range of motion is a complex thing. We know, you know what I mean? We know foam rolling doesn't do anything, right? It simply manipulates the brain and how it creates pain and release sort of thing.
Which makes you think, which is another topic for another podcast, but it makes you think how much of like people not goes, oh, it doesn't break down fat shit. Yeah, but if someone believes that, you telling them it's not is actually the worst thing you can do for someone's mobility. Let the placebo be there, because that's the real thing. I would say Theraguns, probably manual release therapy. There's all elements of placebo of why they work.
Yeah.
Let it continue.
Yeah, totally. But at the same time, like,
there are more efficient ways to do things.
No, but at the same time, it's physics in it as well, right? You know, you can't, you're not going to levitate.
Yes.
So, but yeah, the Douglas Hill, because, it was the first time I had exposure to how incredibly smart the human brain and the body is, and how we can manipulate the central nervous system to get an outcome of being pain-free or increasing range of motion around a joint. And I still use some of it in my practice to this day. I don't use the actual system of what was taught, but I use some of the practical things from it. So releasing techniques and stuff.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. That has been awesome. So for people that want to find you, maybe learn from you, where can people find you?
Stephen Collins Training, Gram, the YouTube.
Yeah, the YouTube stuff's good as well, man. The thumbnails are clickbaity without being lack sleazy. This is what I want, right?
I'm trying. Have you watched some of our videos?
Of course I've watched some of your videos. They pop up every now and again, which means they're hitting the algorithm. And yeah. But and as always, guys, it's Simon Kingston on Instagram and on YouTube as well. And mate, I'll catch you next week.
Catch you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Self-Made Podcast. If you like me and enjoy binge watching podcast episodes, click here for our latest episodes. And if you want to stay in touch and find out when the latest episodes go live, click here to subscribe to the channel.